Hello, this is Larry at LarryRicker.com, and in this video I'm going to go over how to replace a valve cover gasket on a 2003 Honda CRV. If you like this video, click on the like button below. You can subscribe to my channel and check out my apps in the Apple App Store. They include Project Organizer, Project Organizer Pro, Job Hunt, Job Hunt Pro, Class Organizer, Class Organizer Pro, Opportunity Organizer, Opportunity Organizer Pro, and Student Organizer Pro. Okay, for this job I'm going to be using a number of parts. We've got the needle nose pliers for taking off the fasteners on the tubes of the hoses, and a few screwdrivers and a 10mm ratchet. I've got some RTV sealer that I'll be using on the corners of the gasket. Of course, I have a gasket that I purchased from AutoZone, and I've got these grommets that go on top of the valve cover, and I've got these four of two different types of these valve are actually sealers for the shafts that your spark plugs go down into. These will go on top of to seal the surrounding where your spark plugs go in around the in the valve cover. So I told the local place that I do my own work, so that's what I'm going to be doing here instead of paying them to actually install this themselves. So I got about $70 worth of parts here. It also includes it was like $32 for the gasket kit. The RTV was about $10, and then they also said I needed a knuckle joint, ball joint on the right front tire, so I'll be replacing that. And I've got some light bulbs to put in, and also a got to replace the squirter thing for the windshield washer fluids. So it's pretty much the tools I'll be using. Okay, so the first step here is going to be to disconnect the battery. So for that we're going to need, I think, an 8mm, or I could be wrong. It could be a 10 or a 9. Let's go with a 9. Nope, I think we're going to go with 10. 10 is going to be kind of the universal socket for this whole thing. Yeah, 10. So I'm going to have a few different sockets, size 10. I'm going to go with the negative. Disconnect the negative battery first. You could clean up the battery terminals if you want. Disconnect the positive. Well, it's not going to do anything without the positive anyway, so I'm going to leave that one hooked up. But disconnect it anyway. Okay. Battery's completely disconnected. So next step's going to be start to open up this case a little bit. I'm going to also take off this air cleaner box. So for the air cleaner box, size 8mm, is going to do just fine on these bolts on the edge of the air cleaner. Now, before you start this, obviously you're going to change into some clothes if you don't mind getting a little dirt on. Grease. This isn't going to be clean. The reason we're doing this is because it was leaking out of the valve cover. This is the valve cover, and then the gasket is the valve cover gasket, not the head gasket. The valve cover gasket sits under there. Jury rig it a little bit to get it out of here. There's your air cleaner box, and there is your air cleaner. So it's nice and clean. We're just getting that out of the way to have a little space to get in at this side of the motor. So Use the pliers here. 10 millimeters, your friend for this job. One video said this was a 3-hour job. There's a bunch of videos that show it getting done in 20 minutes, but they're fast forwarding through everything. I would like it to be 3 hours or less. That'd be nice. So I'm getting a late start here on a Sunday, 4 o'clock, before I gotta go to work the next day. I'm doing this at 10 o'clock at night, so we'll see how this goes. Now, you can manage your bolts by setting them all up in this area if you want. I'm going to get a little box and start putting bolts in the box to keep things organized. I'm not really fond of having parts fall down inside the motor. Now under here is your spark plug, so if you're ever doing a spark plug job, you might think you want to take this cover off, but I made that mistake. Don't do that. Just take this back one off. Now expose your coils, which are right on top of your cylinders. At some point you want to get this dipstick out of here. You could drop a part and then you'll have to go get it. So if you have the good fortune of being as clumsy as I am and you drop something, most likely if it falls down on the intake manifold, it's going to slide around there and fall all the way down on top of some plastic that's on the bottom of the car for airfoil, and it'll be laying right on top of that. So the best way to get it would be to crawl into the car, land your back, reach up with your arm, feel on top of that plastic, and just grab it when you feel it. Hopefully you hang on to everything better than I do. Okay, but I have a box to put stuff in for that reason. Okay. So now we got to take off these bolts, these bolts, these bolts, and that one to loosen up this connector. So that this is your air compressor. Haven't replaced that on this car yet. Knock on wood or metal or something. God, why am I talking like that? Anyway, so let's start taking off some more bolts. Got what was described in other videos as number 1 cylinder. It's got this funky bolt with, and every other bolt is a funky bolt. And then you got a regular bolt on the number 2. These are the coils, the ignition coils for your spark plugs. It's a regular bolt, number 2. Number 3 is going to go back to the funky bolt that holds on the plastic cover. It's a combination bolt with kind of a reverse bolt on the top. That's why you screw the nut on to hold down the cover. So a funky bolt on that one. And then the third one, or fourth one, sorry, is a regular bolt. Sorry, I don't have the fancy power tools to take this apart, but at least for a quieter video. Okay, then we've got a bolt on top of here to hold down the ignition coil, or a nut, or actually that's not even a nut, that's a kind of a fastener. And then, okay, so we got our ignition coil loose, and that should lift off at this point. So we can lift out our number 1 ignition coil. My tiny crowbar did seem to do the trick for that number 4 coil, getting that one up. So we got all 4 coils up. They're all loose. 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, they're out. I'm going to get a cable tie and tie those back to one of these wires. Don't want to hook it on fuel line. We'll hook it on this stabilizer bar here. Okay, the stabilizer bar is this thick bar here that goes from one end of the car to the other. That should be a stable thing. Okay, you can daisy chain your cable ties by simply sliding the male end into the female end right there. Turn it around, work better. Okay, grabs. Okay, that might give you enough length, or it might not. Yeah, that'll be enough. Then you can just kind of zip that through, male into female, and slide that back. Pull back on your coil. Get the ignition coil out of the way. And this end's kind of still in the way a little bit. It's fastened in here. Now the reason I'm doing this is because you got an oil leak, so consequently there's no bad time to start cleaning up the mess. Okay, so the car's inside now. I turned the steering wheel back and forth as I was bringing the vehicle in, so there should be some more power steering fluid in the reservoir now. So we'll get that out. This much power steering fluid, and yeah, about maybe 6 more squirts out of that one, so whatever that is. Spray this because the WD-40 needs a little bit of time to set up. Okay, those are shorter screws. Pull this out, expect some fluid to come out. So again, we'll grab a paper towel. But we're not getting very much fluid out because we drained it, which is good. Just a little bit on my sleeve. Nice. Okay, clean that up. That's not really flowing out, so I think sucking that out with the turkey baster was a good procedure. So actually taking those two things loose, pulling this joint out and then loosening this up, gets this hose really far out of the way, which is great for doing replacing the valve cover gasket. So I recommend that you do this before trying to replace the valve cover gasket, and then you won't have to do. But if you don't do that, then you can watch my other video, which is how to replace a broken high pressure power steering rod. Yeah, I've been wiggling at this for 20 minutes at least now, and taking the same tool to the back and trying to wiggle it. It didn't work, so I got a second pry tool here. I'm going to try to get it around to the side a little bit and get it into the crack, and maybe pry a little from a different angle. The goal is to get this part out of the way and then tilt this part forward to pull it out this way as I'm pulling it forward. So it's got to go over. This piece has to come this way. Need to get some lift. Tilt. Push. This piece over. Water. Get it out of the way. Okay. So now we want to push this over. Completely out of the way. Over here, while we're tilting forward and lifting. It's got to go completely clear the corner, and then tilt forward, and then avoid the stabilizer bar, which is this bar here. Nothing pretty. And now we got this cable over here in our way. Pull that out of the way. And then lift. Lift. Get your strongest finger you got. Going through that. Spark plug holes. There we go. Made it look easy, right? Not. Okay. So now, there is our valve cover. So we're going to take this out of here, but we're going to do it off to the side so we don't get any of this gasket back into the motor. And then we're going to clean it up a little bit. So lots of fresh oil all over the place. And then pop these four out, and looks like those are, oh, this one looks like it's cut a little bit, so that could be a source of leakage too. I don't know how easy these are going to pop out. See them come out with a screwdriver. I'm going to get it clear of here a little bit so I don't get any parts falling back in the motor. Okay, so I started getting nervous about damaging this valve cover because I'm trying to get these spark plug seals out, and I was afraid I was going to damage the metal, so I went down to my neighborhood AutoZone here in Dallas, Pennsylvania, and got some advice. So this is the advice I got. So they suggested tap down. So what tap down means is take the whole thing, flip it over, lay it on the top, and then take your screwdriver and get on top of the seal and then tap down on it. And I'll probably get a hammer to do this with. So as mentioned, just you can do it with a punch also. I haven't got a punch yet, but I have one. I could use it. Just tap down on this and have it work around the edges. Get on top of it. Just kind of work around in a circle. Get on top of the spark plug seal and work around in a circle and just get on top and then tap down on it. So that's gone. Okay. Doesn't seem like it's moving. The other advice I got was purchase this. Which is a set of seal removal, O-ring removal set. And these allow you to pick at stuff and pull them out. So this will open those up and get some picks here and then pick at them. Let's get one of the, get some light over here so we can get under the angle. Try the tap down method again. Felt like it did something. Oh, by God, look at that. Tap down method worked. Got one out. Hallelujah. Okay. Praise God for that. Alright, maybe this project will end. Okay. Let's keep tapping down. Not gone yet. Okay. Well, it may be moving. Okay. Okay, we got two out. Hallelujah. Okay. Let's get, these two are out. That sounded promising. And another one's out. Okay. one more remaining on, well, that would be cylinder 1. in. Okay, 4 of them out. That was not easy. Hopefully got all that one on video, I don't know. I think the angle might have been too low. We'll see. Alright, so we got all 4 out. Now I just need to get the seal off of here. Valve cover seal. That might just peel off, as they say. But being as how everything else went, I don't know. Oh, tab came right off. Okay. That didn't just peel off. Oh, there we go. Okay. Got part of the seal out. Let's see if we can peel it off with one piece. That would be a beautiful thing. Just, so far, just like peeling an orange. Okay. Hate to see that seal go, but what must. Okay, I'm just gonna set that one over here so I have it as a model to put the other one in. Let's get the seal. Get the rest of the parts. Turn this over. Now, there's that funky lip over there. So that'll line up with that. And then, okay, this one goes in there. So, now which side is down? That looks like it clearly goes in. And then it kind of squishes down. Very interesting. Okay, we'll start in that little corner, because that's very distinctive. And we'll work over from there in a circle. Tabs pointing outward, that's a good sign. This is the corner where we're going to have to add some RTV. Let's get this all in here nice. Just go around a few times. Make sure it's all seated nicely. God, I mentioned in one video that you should seat for about a half an hour. Make sure it settles in. Now it's been sitting in there since 4 o'clock. When it's 1800 hours now, that's 6:18. That's 2.5 hours, so it's had plenty of laying flat time to sort of settle in already. Probably don't need a full time, 30 minutes to settle in, but just get it seated down nice. Still pushing in a little bit in certain spots. Still settling in. Still settling in. Okay, now let's try some of these seats. Put those in the holes. Okay, it's not exactly settling in nicely. Okay, I'm probably going to need a 29mm socket to push that in. One more in my pocket. I took it to the store. Okay. Maybe go look for a 29mm socket and try to settle this in. Okay, let's see if this goes in any easier than the childbirth necessary to get it out. Okay. Well, it's going to go in, same way it came out. This curved edge is going to be on the right and the flat edge on the back left. This front corner bevels outward. So it just kind of flips over and goes right in there. And when it go right in there, I mean, not so easy.
I'm not sure that all these spark plug seals are setting properly, and they're not.
Okay, let's take a look inside each one of these and see if they're seated properly. Oh, that's not seated properly. That would be a problem. Okay. That one needs to be pulled out and redone. seat properly. So, what? Oh, I put 2 in the hole. Don't do that. Okay. They definitely will not see it properly. Holy smoke. Okay. Okay, let's try this thing again. We got a mess here. Okay.
Let's clean up our RTV a bit. Let's RTV again. What an epic fail. Okay. So I'm going to put some RTV in the corners. And the edges. Do around this corner.
Okay, let's take a look at that again and see if those are seated properly. Okay, lights on. Let's look at these holes again. Okay, that one looks like it's seated good. This one looks like it's seated pretty good. Okay, this one looks like it's seated pretty good. Okay, and this one, yeah, in case you missed it, I had 2 spark plug seals on this one. Number 4, not good. Epic fail. Okay, but recovered and pulled it out and recovered. All right. Okay, here's your little grommet replacements, brand new. Came with the kit. Drop those in on each one of these. Okay. We'll try dropping some screw caps on these. Those are not working at all. Okay. They're going to need some pressure to get grip on the thread. Okay, righty tighty. Oh, always start in the center and work your way to the edges. Well, you can save considerable amount of time on this job if you don't stop. Keep dropping your tools down inside the motor, but I do. Okay, this is the torque wrench, and it's set for 8.7 foot-pounds, which is the torque setting for these head valve cover bolts. That's equal to 104, so you multiply it by 12 to come up with the inch-pounds rating for these bolts, which would be 104 inch-pounds, but that's 8.7 foot-pounds. So I'm just going to give these a little pull around here. Let's start in the center. Okay, let's put these tubes back in. On the bottom of the car, there's these Aerodynamics Panels, and you can pull the grommets out of the bottom of those panels with your prying tool, and you lower those panels downward, and then shake them a little bit, and your screws might fall out, and if they do, then you'll have your screw that you're missing, which happened for me. So I'll finish adding these coils. Keep all your tools in one place and you don't have to keep looking for them. Yeah, general rule of thumb, if you don't have a torque wrench that goes down to the number of foot-pounds you want, is you could hand tighten until it's tight and then give it a quarter turn. These are, I think, over-torqued at this point. I am not risking torquing them any longer. Now, I got to put some screws on here and tight. Put these hoses back in the original positions. They're inside of a bracket, which is floating right around here. I'll probably do an oil change in here for good measure, being as it's all the oil's basically drained out anyway by this oil leak. Then we can put this back together. Use the pliers, needle, nose, pliers. Squeeze that. Move that over to here. And then that's got another type of squeeze mechanism here. This one's a little different. Pull it back with the wire. Get that in the hole. And then pull it back in that area. Sort of operates with a twisting action. Get that wire back in place. Then we can put our box back in here. Nothing's ever easy that's worth doing, right? Okay, now we're going to need the 8mm on those. There's the 8mm. course, we'll have to reconnect our battery terminals. Okay, we gotta screw that in here. And then we got the 10 millimeter. I'm gonna put on that one. The 10 millimeters float on our small socket, which is right here. In case I didn't say it earlier, happy St. Patrick's Day. This is how this leprechaun's spending his happy St. Patrick's Day. Okay. Small brackets, covers. Just covers. You can dust them off. Lots of little screws, of which I probably am missing a few. Yeah, it looks like I'm missing a few. Hopefully we'll find some. Of course, 10 millimeter. And then we've got the other cover. Fancy cover. Right in this area. That's the purpose of these longer screws. I just need a couple of 10 millimeter nuts to finish this job off. Replace the ones I lost. And that concludes a valve cover gasket replacement. I'm just going to do an oil change videos on changes before for this vehicle. I'm going to take the coil out of the bottom, 17mm socket, and then drain it. Take off the filter and fill her up again. Okay, the last step is going to be reconnect the battery terminal. I'm going to put the positive on first, and that I believe was a 10mm. We'll hook up the negative.